I watched the president's speech yesterday. It was a full concession. He literally said, I concede, I will not sign the bill. This is a victory for the demonstrators.
Well, is it, Joumanna? Is it a victory? I think one thing that has remained very clear is the sheer determination of Kenyans to get their voices heard for once. Last year, they tried this protest. It did not work. And this time around, they've realized that the more they apply pressure, the more they push the government towards the wall. And I mean, the last two speeches that we've heard from the president, a day and night, a day before he was saying what happened was treasonous, these are dangerous criminals, and I'm leading this country. And in his latest address, we see him say he leads the people. He wants to have a conversation with the people. And as you rightfully said, I concede. What happens next is that this bill is going to be sent back to Parliament. And what was so interesting is the president was flanked by the very members of Parliament that passed this bill. He will send it back to them together with a presidential memorandum recommending that they delete all clauses from this bill. There's also been mounting international pressure on Kenya. We saw the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres say he's deeply concerned about the violence and cases of arbitrary detentions that have been carried out by the police, saying that the authorities need to practice a little bit of restraints. Kenyan feels it's a little too late for this. The bill has been unpopular for a while, and they feel that they cannot trust the government at this point. They're hitting the streets again today, and we'll be watching that to see what new messages come from this protest.
So we talked about the social unrest aspect, but yesterday when you and I were talking about the state of Kenya's public finances, we spoke about the fact that that debt to GDP ratio is sitting very high. The IMF have warned about the possibility of Kenya going into debt distress. In the absence of further spending measures, revenue-raising measures, what options does the government have, and how are markets likely to react?
Joumanna, the markets had some form of reaction yesterday. If you look at securities, they handed investors negative 1.3, and this is since the 18th of June. This is one of the biggest losses after Egypt and Gabon, according to a Bloomberg index of developing nations' sovereign dollar bonds. But if you look at Kenya's 2031 dollar bond, it reversed early after President William Ruto made his remarks. We saw it trade slightly stronger with yields at 10.67%. There remain concerns in Kenya. Long-term solvency remains an issue, even though short-term liquidity issues have been addressed. There are also other challenges in this economy. For example, geopolitical tension that has affected energy prices and food prices, which then in turn affects CPI. So there are a couple of challenges that need to be addressed. But in terms of what options they have, the president briefly mentioned that austerity measures will begin in government, and we're likely to see more budget cuts.